So if I was setting a trap, picture where you are, use the breeze. So if I'm an animal in this situation coming this way, I've got to trap off the breeze, okay? Do not forget the breeze. Very impromptu, but I'm going to do two quick, one set here, but to give an idea of what else is around just besides a flat set. So the flat set is generally, you've already picked an object. Like so, we'll just trap off this breeze. You've already picked an object. Now I won't break that, but you can picture, if this was stable, it might be stable enough. That's enough of an object. The wind's not going to blow it around, it's stationary. If that breeze is coming over the top, like in the picture, animals walking up, my smell might be there. I've already engaged it, yep, smelt it, I'm already directed. The natural wings are those two sticks. It's also shoulder height, and their feet are determined in here. So with that being a scenario, where would I put the trap for a dog? So I would, that lure tucked under here, that's the pan, that's my trap. Now, not a drama with that. The only potential hazard being if a dog does come the other way, which can happen. This is a single beat. If a dog's always walking the same one, that's a single beat. A double beat is if he comes back, and it could be sporadic. You don't know when. If you've got cameras, you might know. You may have to change this situation. Then if he's coming that way, you've got to make him work that set. Sorry. Only subtle. It's not. We're not talking about Legos. Now, we know the distance. I'm happy with that. That's a natural guide for their feet. This is a natural guide for their shoulders. The only thing you might do in this situation, given that what we're presented with, you may have a small rock or a bit of a deterrent on that side, but then what to put their feet here. It's just a subtle prompt to go, hey, put your foot there. You can do that. More of a space there. So you just got to allow good ratio. Some people do offset it. Again, prompt you. If that's your lure, you might as well go here, say it's centre, be damn close. Yep. Some off centre. Someone was talking before. Yeah. So some guys do offset them. So if that's centre. I don't personally, but I just centre it. Yeah, a lot of guys do it. Yeah, it's cool. I agree. But I just centralise it and prompt them where to put their feet by little subtle guides, just so it really tucks them in. Yeah. Normally I wear glasses, because obviously when this fires, if it shouldn't, but if it fires and I've got no glasses on, well, I'm sort of stuck. I can't see what's going on. Yeah, I do. I do. Not the Pat Cash sort, but yeah, I do. So, obviously it's sawdust. You've got a picture if this was out in the paddock. This would be tucked right up against this soil. The soil's then brought out and put onto this. So it limits, it's very hard to get the scene back to normal if all this crap's all scattered. So I use the mat to tuck it up hard up under here. But for today, Now you can picture with a sieve, a lot of impurities, even just in this. Now you're probably thinking, well, why is a sieve important? Look at the size of that trap. It'll bust through anything. Well, no, it won't. Because if you've got impurities in your hole, and that tends to get stuck on the side of that jaw, and your dog's say only been caught by the toes, is there enough gap and not enough pressure for that dog to pull his foot out? So dry sifted media, wherever you're in, gives that trap the most chance to get the best capture. It's not going, oh, that rock's there, oh great, the dog will pull its foot out. Yeah. So I always double stake mine. Occasionally I might put it to a tree or a longer chain, but generally I double stake it. So for the sake of this, again, you imagine in there, I've double staked, Pete's got those stakes on his table, double staked that in the ground. But that's not going anywhere, that dog is, yeah. So imagine that double staked. I generally, so picture side profile of the trap hole. That's ground level. This is me kneeling here. I tend to drop it down a little shelf, down to the double stake rings. Now, reason why, that you've got to really depress the tops of the stakes because they've got two big plates on them. You've got to lever it out, so you've got to get it lower. That spring sits on the front of the hole on that ledge. And then the jaw of the trap sits on top of that spring. And then your soil goes on top of your trap. So what's it doing? It's increasing how well that trap is bedded. Because if you put your foot on like a loose floorboard and it moves, first thing you take your foot off. So in the trap world, you don't want that trap to wobble. It's got to be bedded, like to the point where you think you've been there too long. You've got to really bed it. And bedding involves not only the outside, but also the inside. So if you can picture, I've done some trapping in some crazy spots. For demos, not for. So I tend to then sift this back up once that stakes is sunken down. Sift it back up so you've got a nice bed of soft soil to play in. You can really bed it, if that makes sense. So really bed it, it's got to be solid. So obviously this is not going to hold much because it's got no integrity, but...
So do you have a preference to say when you put that spring under the jaw, is that under the loose jaw or the set jaw?
Okay. Yeah, so with that also then can depend on how you want to have your trap set. Now, that's not adjusted, you can obviously bring that a lot down further, but if you're a dog coming in here and you touch that pan, it ain't gonna fire, is it? But I guarantee you, if you're committed and your 4-pounder's here, it's the whole leverage thing. You're further away, it's gonna go quicker. Not gonna go into here. Some guys actually set like that. They do it on the scent post sets, they do it like that, because the foot comes right in. But I tend to go that way with then the spring under the front of the jaw, at the front, yeah. So imagine that's bedded, your hands are all over it, you're in the zone, you're bedding on the outside. Don't get your fingers in there, because if that fires, oh man, I hate to think what happened. So treat it like a loaded weapon, really bed it on the outside, right? With your pan cover. This being a lazy jaw of sorts, you put your pan cover in, you've got to cover your pan obviously. Now, normally I use sand a fair bit anyway. So your sand, perfect media, you can actually start to push that down. It actually holds really well. So in this case, I'll just use that. So the idea being that that soil won't get under the pan. It's got to be held up, right? Now, imagine over time that gets built up, right? Now, I wouldn't be taking soil if it was a real trap site right here. I'll be somewhere else. Dry sifted soil, you got to give the chance of the trap every opportunity it can to fire. Now you can see why you wear glasses. When you start mucking around with it and it does fire. I do it for days like this because I can talk to you without being rude, but normally I have glasses and it's just me and I make sure it's packed down pretty well. So banister brush on the inside jaw to make sure there's no gaps. Start to flatten that out. Now from your pan, top of your pan to how much soil over the top, I'll be only going maybe 5 mil. Maybe to 10, depending on how light the media is. That's heaps. So most of all, these little wings, I call them wings, it can't tip. So if a dog comes in here and it tips, well, that ain't cool. Really, really solid. Box. This is literally what's in my trapping box. There's no secret squirrel stuff here. You can buy most of this stuff from, yeah. I'm getting old, it's for my knees. Sieve, zip tied, bit of MacGyver, Old Faithful. It's all about the aperture. You can get ones that are too wide and you get all this rubbish. This is a nice finely graded sieve. You want to carry sand or stuff into an area, I bought another sieve with the pan, with the base. I kept this, I threw out the sieve. Just kept that, you can hold sand in there. On the jaws sometimes, let's make sure they're all cleaned up. Candle, so when it's wet. Underneath where that dog joins, that's the terminology, top of the pan, when it joins the jaw, and also on the wings. I ain't talking a light bit, we're not talking a lot, but just enough to, a very well used trap tester. Some I showed you upstairs. That normally sits on the back of my quad bike on the milk crate, so it sits on the back and all my stuff just sits in here. Bit noisy, but it's fine. Different size traps have different size nuts. So depending on finely tuned at the end, just to make sure you're right before it goes in the ground, I'll then make sure that pan's right, bit of a nip and a tuck, make sure it's 4 pound for dogs and then set it in the ground. Banister brush when it's dry, just that last little bit of over the top, make it flattened out. Obviously pretty self-explanatory. 2 stakes. I've got a big PVC pipe on the back of the bike, all the rods. I think Pete's got some rods for sale, I think I saw, wherever Pete is. He's got the Rio stakes there. Remember to double cross them. You might think one's enough, but you've got to actually double cross them. So why is that important? You can imagine if you just you've set your trap, that's in the ground, you only put 1 stake in there, and you get big powerful dogs that can pump that out. But if you double stake it, and if it's enough for 4-wheel drive recovery, when you double stake, it's good enough to hold the dog. And of course the pan cover as well. So I'll set this in the sawdust. Yeah. So I'll just leave that there for a bit. What do dogs do after they do their business? What's it also tell you which way has it gone? They do dance a bit sometimes on a site, but generally I like to see where that's gone. If you can't pick up which way they're travelling, it generally is which way they're going. Because like us doing when you're 17 with your HQ, all this at the back. Wish I had my HQ. So imagine you've come back, you've got a really happy customer. They want to say hello to you. And this is now ground zero. So that's, I can touch that. Yep. Right, so generally you come from, say, that way, this is now just demolished, right?
They tend to scram a bit, don't they?
Yeah. Fight circle. There it is. There's his front foot. If you're coming that way, sorry. Generally, he's going to be like that. Initially, that's the flight syndrome, and then when you get closer, it's fight. He launches onto this side. Then he does this big lot of circle work. Sort of been doing circle work for a while, but that's where he's trapped. Respect that zone. Headshots, 22 magnums all you need. I know a lot of people that want to use big calibers, don't know why, but this side. So, say you want to reset this, which you will. If I'm here chasing a dog, it doesn't sit still. If I get down and go, I'll just wait. Remember the fight circle? You can lunge and do what it want, you're safe, it's all good. A lot of guys don't like how close this is. I don't mind it if I trust what I've done here. Yep, cool. I want him that piece of the pie that's still the predominant breeze. So I want to drop him right there, if it's on that breeze. His front foot's in here, so generally his head's going to be here. There's the blood. The blood congeals in about 3 minutes. You then can do what you want with that blood, dispose of it, do whatever. But why I have it that side is because all the smell and the excitement is all that side. So for the next dog that comes through, his feet are going to go, oh, what's over there? There's already another trap inside. I don't want blood here, I don't want stuff here. It's a nice little headshot done. Yeah. Yeah, so a reset, you would reset that, make sure there's no blood on the trap. You'd reset that back in the same hole. It's a pretty excited spot, a lot of hormones here, a lot of stress, urine, feces, blood, a lot of going on. If you've got a nice pad where dogs are coming in on the same road, you'll see they'll balk because they know something's going on here. They don't know what it is yet, but over time, some will come rushing straight in and some will just take their time.
Any young one?
Any. I've had big dogs come in and go, who's this? And they get trapped. Then it goes from, say the first set was a urine-based set or a feces-based set. I then changed to a more of a food set because enough stuff going here through the dog's nose that they don't have to find out who's missed out. But I knew food smellers, oh, they've missed that food. I want to come back and see what it is. So I started bringing in objects. Birds are your number one. You got to visualise this again. Birds are your worst thing for mucking up a trap set. Scrub turkeys, bandicoots as well. So from a dog's world, a dog, a big dog, obviously height of the mudguard. His world is that, right? He's looking out here, great, but his world is here. So he knows there's a smell coming from that set. There's also now visual aids. You start putting stuff under those logs. So he gets to go, oh, what is that? So if it's under, it takes out the birds for a start because it's under here. There's a smell attached to it. It brings their feet in again. And you get caught and start over again. But you've got to keep a diary because you'll forget what lures you put on that site. You go, okay, that. Don't use it a bit, that lure in the same area for a bit. Just keep it just here. Yeah, and just keep creating the scene.
Where would you put your camera?
Probably where Jamie is. I don't, yeah, it wouldn't be the opposite tangent. Because if that's where he's coming from, I don't want anything on there. I want it there. So his focus is here. He knows it's gone off, you see him go like that. They know something's happened, but yeah, not a bum shot, but behind. Okay. Yeah, I don't want it in that face.